The debate I moderated was a few months ago in June, so they've had a few months to hone their message and to get a little more comfortable. I thought all of them did well. I didn't see any major gaffes by any of the candidates. I think the big loser was David Vitter for not attending. I mean, anytime you have a chance for a statewide debate, especially the first one, you should take advantage of it. Looks like he's ducking, and looks like he's trying to maybe sit on his lead. But that is not what I would have recommended to him if I was his consultant. So I think he was a big loser. I thought Steve, it was well done. I give the students a lot of props. I liked the questions. I liked the format, and I thought LPB did a fine job with it.
That's terrific. Jim, let me ask you this question to follow up on what Jeff said. Jeff said that Vitter was a loser here and that he was stuck in the debates. The article I read was that he hadn't confirmed. Now they asked whether or not he was going to appear in a debate in October, and he said that they don't schedule that far in advance. You disagree, or please? I mean,
well, your whole life is going to change by being governor of Louisiana, and so I'm sure it's a calculated effort on the senator's part to say that, number one, I don't know how well the viewership was tonight. LPB, Channel 12, weeknight, and so hope we can see some numbers, but I think Vitter's people took a look at it. So there's not going to be much of an audience. And if you're leading right now, why give credibility to the rest of them? If you don't show up, it takes a little of the edge off of it, maybe makes viewership even lower. It's a calculated risk on his part. Like Jeff said, I did a number of debates with all the candidates. I didn't miss a debate. On the other hand, I was never the leader of the pack, too. So there's a lot of calculation going on. Vitter is known for not participating. When he ran for U.S. Senator in his several races, he never debated, would never debate Congressman Malasa in his last active race. So his focus is to stay away. And, of course, that was the same thing with Bill Cassidy, our former U.S. Senator. Wouldn't get near Mary Landrieu. So this is a tactic that I think the public doesn't appreciate, but just like they don't appreciate negative campaigning. Negative campaigning works, and that's why so many candidates do it. So I think it's a calculated effort on Vitter's part to say, let's don't give a lot of credence to these debates. If he doesn't show up, he's the leading candidate, takes the buzz off. Not a lot of viewership anyway, and as a consequence, he's trying to downplay it and not get in the crossfire of being attacked. I noticed that none of the three candidates said anything about the other candidate. That's going to change as it gets closer down into the election itself. But Vitter might have been afraid that he didn't want to get into an attack mode quite at this stage. And I'm sure it's a very calculated effort by his consultants, by his polling, to say, let's just dodge this debate tonight.
So you think it was a dodge? Well, let me ask you this. I mean, I actually communicated with their campaign, and they said, well, look, if you want to call this a debate, we've made 29 of them. Now, this is the first televised one, but, I mean, he's made, and he's up in Washington, D.C., for the most part, and the transportation up there, although they're out of session. So is it fair to say that he's dodging? If he's made 29 appearances, including one, that Jeff moderated?
Well, this is the first televised debate. And so, like I say, I thought when it was announced that you weren't going to see a big viewership. People are still not that tuned into this election, quite frankly. I've seen some recent polls for other candidates that include the governor's race. Still undecided and not a lot of interest. So I just felt like Vitter did not want to give it that much credibility. That's my opinion. I've got nothing to build on. But I'm just looking at what Cassidy did before, what Senator Vitter has done before, and I think there's a whole focus of I'm different from the rest of them, therefore let's don't jump into the fray into a statewide debate.
Jeff?
I agree. I mean, I think that's exactly what he was calculating, and I think he's gone to a lot of these other debates, but the big difference is they weren't televised, and And now you're going to be stepping up as far as, you know, the prominence of these forums. And I think he's going to be very selective, just like Cassidy was very selective. But I think the losers are the voters. I really think the more opportunities that all of them are together, the better. As an analyst, I like to see it. I saw some interesting differences between the candidates on some issues tonight. And I don't know where David Vitter stands because, again, the one that I moderated was mostly about crime. And this covered a lot of issues. And, you know, I think, again, he didn't get his message out there because he wasn't participating. So as we get closer, I'm sure we'll see more televised debates. And I'm hopeful he's going to accept more invitations. But I tend to think he'll probably utilize the Cassidy strategy and be very, very selective. Maybe just do 1 or 2 or at the most 3. And
the other thing, Steve, I might throw in too, this is a debate of college kids asking the questions. And if you weighed what you're going to be asked, and we saw this tonight, it's all about money, 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 isn't it? I mean, more money for tops, more money for higher education. And so Vitter, I think, posturing himself as a conservative, and quite frankly, honestly, knowing that we can't meet all the expectations that so many people want, this maybe wasn't his crowd. This wasn't his issue. He'd get in there and say, well, we got to put limits on tops, which he feels and which he's going to do. And we just can't fund higher education at the level it's been based on the budgetary crisis we have. I think he just didn't want to get into some of these questions, quite frankly.
Okay, I mean that's fine. I don't know why he didn't appear. I don't know if they knew about it or what he was doing in place. But sure, yeah, I definitely agree that it would be great for him to get out there and communicate. Now, obviously, the polls. I mean, looking at the polls, most of the polls that I've seen have you know, the 2 candidates in terms of David Vitter and John Bell Edwards, pretty close neck and neck. One poll, the MRI poll, which a group of business people, including John Georges, basically put together and had Scott Hengel really jumping in. And the difference, the polls, is that they calculated the black vote, you know, after taking the questions and revising the polls. And so if Vitter must feel pretty comfortable then, you know, the internal polls must be telling him, hey, you know, I can kind of sit on this. I mean, don't you think?
Well, if I could give you my impression, like, let's see what Jeff says, but I think Vitter is taking a calculated risk that he's going to have the money just to dwarf the other candidates in the last month of the campaign when voters really get tuned in. His lead is not so much to get cocky about, Steve, as you said. Edwards is running neck and neck with him. Angel did a big TV buy and is caught up. And so this is really a pretty feisty race. And Darden, who I thought was the most articulate candidate tonight, makes a good impression. When he comes on at the end, when people get interested, he wants to be sure he's got the money to stand toe-to-toe. And so with Vitter, I think Vitter is counting on he's going to have more money, 2 to 3 times more money than the other candidates, and he can use that money effectively. I can tell you this, I've seen the first couple of spots that he has, and I'm not knocked over by them as someone that's watched a lot of political spots. I don't think it's the best showing him in the best light. I did hear his radio spot today, and Jeff, I don't know if you heard the radio spot about a direct attack on Mayor Landrieu.
Right.
Let's deal with murder, not monuments. I thought that was a good radio spot for his voters. But as far as his TV, I thought it was a little weak. So as a consequence, he's rolling the dice saying, I want to have that money towards the end. He's probably seen so many campaigns where good candidates who are moving pretty well just run out of money towards the end. And he wants to save all his big bats for that period of time.
Yeah, he's not going to run out of money, Jim. We know that. He's going to have, what, 4 times as much as the others? So, yeah, he's going to have that big advantage. But Let me just concur with what Jim said, Steve. I thought Jay Darden was really good tonight. I thought he was very articulate. He seemed in command. I liked the way he confidently answered the questions. He seemed to be the smoothest of the three. Not that the other two were bad at all. I mean, I thought they were good. But he just seemed very much on his game. I thought it was a good night for him. And I was very impressed. So to me, he seemed to be the most polished.
And if I could go ahead with Darden, I thought Darden was the most polished, handled himself well. Edwards seemed to be the Democrat seemed to be more factual. He had more details, and having been in the legislature and dealt with these issues, I think he was very knowledgeable. If I could have gotten him some advice, every time he'd finish a question, he'd look down rather than looking at that audience. And
right.
Contact is important. I thought he was most factual. Angel was a little bit of a scattershot. He was a little bit all over the map. My kids and this and that and this issue, and he wasn't quite as crisp and focused, although he didn't do that bad, and he seemed to have some good answers, quite frankly. I think, as we said, they all three can held their own this evening.
Right.
Darden the most polished, Edwards more factual, and Angel a little scattershot. If he can hone in a little bit more as this election goes on, it was probably a good teaching moment for all three this evening.